And welcome everyone to this episode of the Real Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Edwards. Joining us today is the founder and CEO of Flowers for Dreams. Please welcome Stephen Dyme. Stephen, thanks for being with us today.
Excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit about Flowers for Dreams. What's the origin? How'd you get your start?
Well, I'm an accidental florist. I started in the flower industry when I was 19 years old, hustling flowers on street corners to make money to pay for school. It was just one of many kind of hustles I was looking for to help pay for school. I think there's a lot of young millennials who have similar experiences. I had an unpaid internship in the summer, really no way to make money, and had this bright idea to buy excess flowers from wholesale florists. There's a lot of spoilage and waste in the floral industry, particularly at the wholesale level. And end of the week, flowers either, if they don't sell, they usually go to die. I would purchase them at pennies on the dollar and then bundle them up into bouquets and sell them with my buddies outside of college graduation ceremonies and high school graduations and dance recitals and on street corners and gas stations for Mother's Day, and turn that into a little bit of a seasonal college business on the North Shore of Chicago, where every bouquet that we would sell at a school event, a graduation or a prom, would fund a backpack with school supplies for a student in need. That was another kind of thread in my life at the time, was helping package backpacks and school supplies for low-income CPS, Chicago Public School students in need. And I paired the two together, flowers for schools and backpacks for schools, and that was kind of the beginning of my profit with purpose story. And it's what laid the groundwork for Flowers for Dreams when I graduated.
And to you, what does impact mean to you today?
You know, we talk about being a purpose-driven leader a lot in my organization, and a service leader, a servant leader. And I think what that used to mean was serving just your organization and the people that you deal with and maybe your customers. Now, service and impact means your internal workforce, your customers just the same, your environment now, the stakeholders in your community. In our case, we work with local charities. With every bouquet we sell, we give a percentage to a local neighborhood nonprofit. So we have all these stakeholders at the table, and being an impact leader, being a servant leader, is about making sure that all of them are attended to.
So it's about maximizing stakeholder value for you, maybe versus just the bottom line only.
Sure, exactly right.
Have you seen a correlation in sales and growth from having a strong focus on serving the community?
Yeah, there's no question that our customers consistently reward us again and again for our commitment to community. In our case, we use our flower bouquets and images of our flowers on social media, which we're a really highly social brand, and we use all of that power to really tell stories of causes of justice and charity in the communities we serve. And that's what our customers are looking for. And you wouldn't expect it from a flower company, but our whole model revolves around local. In large part, a lot of our sourcing is local. We have local staff. Again, we commit a quarter of our profits to local charities through our own local nonprofit foundation. And this is what our customers really demand. Yeah.
So we're at this conference surrounded with a lot of impact leaders who are growing organizations very similar to yours with this intention. What is the most important question that you want the world at large to hear from this gathering of impact leaders?
Well, I think we were just talking about it in one of the breakout sessions, that there's a big distinction between investing in impact or tacking on impact to an investment or to a company or business model, and being an impact-driven company or an impact investor. And I think that distinction has yet to be made very publicly and widely for just casual observers and marketplace observers. I think it's trendy to be interested in impact, and I'm certainly a big tent impact entrepreneur. I want as many people who are willing to embrace our values and a mission that helps the environment or people. But I think that's this next generation is really being able to detect and distinguish between what companies are driven by impact and investors are driven by impact, and who might use it as window dressing.
And a major shift to the theme this year has been around regeneration. Starting from this mindset, impact to, we can actually do more by recirculating things and making things better. And regenerate more for future, like you said, generations. How has regeneration shown up in your career?
Well, I think there's a really good recent example for Flowers for Dreams, and that is supply chain. So there's been huge supply chain stressors over the last year or two with the pandemic. In our case, the flower industry is very international. Flowers come from, particularly for us, all of the Western Hemisphere. We've always had a huge bent towards local. We source a lot of our product local. We work with about 25 different farms in the Midwest, the Great Lakes region of the United States. And what COVID ultimately ended up doing for those folks is it gave them new life, because now all of a sudden, local, when international supply chains frayed, when shipping costs went through the roof, and all these different restrictions were put on from nation state to nation state, our local suppliers became huge sources of opportunity for our competitors too. And that's a great outcome for the whole flower ecosystem. More and more local farmers, when it was a dying breed, local flower farmers, more investment hopefully to follow in kind of the commercialization of indoor flower farming, or just flower farming in general, decorative flower farming. And so there's been a regeneration of local in the flower supply chain, the flower and plant supply chain.
Well, tell me a little bit more about that with your competitors. We've been hearing a lot about collaboration being a new form of competition. What was this collaboration like, and what is it going to take in order to do more of it for other industries?
Well, I could say, when costs, and this is, I think, business fundamentals, business 101, when both cost is at a winning proposition and your customer value proposition, then you're likely going to make the decision that serves both those groups, so customers and cost. And that's why our competitors are turning back to local. In some cases, I wouldn't say overwhelmingly, but I think that's going to be one of the biggest regenerative trends in the flower industry, is that there's a move more and more and more towards local, not just because customers demand it, but now because the costs can justify it.
What have been some of the growing pains that you've experienced as an entrepreneur out of college, growing locally? When you're trying to expand your organization, what are some things that you've run into?
Well, first, the advantage I have being such a young entrepreneur is that I don't know what I don't know, and I know what I don't know, and my naivete is kind of a strength more than a crutch, because I didn't come into this business or this industry with a lot of preconceived notions of how things ought to work. And I'm constantly curious. I think that's just like my disposition. So that's been helpful. What's less so is, I've never managed people heading into Flowers for Dreams. Now we have almost 100 everyday team members in our organization across 4 states. And that's a constant learning for me. And so places like Real Leaders, the Mo Summit, are really critical for me to learn from other leaders who have been managed, small teams, big teams, grown teams, because I didn't have prior experience to that before Flowers for Dreams.
I love that you're very humble and open about this, and that's how minds have to work, right? It's like a parachute, gotta be open. When you were thinking about growing the organization earlier on, did you find that impact investors or I guess investors that are more aligned with your mission, or more willing to understand, or more reciprocal with the funding?
Well, the difference between 2012, when Flowers for Dreams was born, and 2022 is really night and day. Our investors then thought of impact as a nice to have, or potentially even a throwaway. And we've not raised a significant amount of capital. We've only raised from individuals, friends and family might be considered, and have grown largely on our own as a profitable, cash flow positive business model, margin positive business. And now everybody who has either entertained an investment opportunity in Flowers for Dreams or sought us out as an investment opportunity, now that we have a larger craft flower brand that's known to many in our region, love the fact that we are so impact-driven and cause-driven. We consider ourselves kind of an activist brand. If on our website, on our social media, it's very clear where we stand on things, and we've naturally, because of that, attracted a certain type of investor that's really aligned with our vision.
And when you exit the organization, long ways down the time, what's the impact you'd like to leave?
Boy, that's a really tough question. I think, I feel like I want to be an evangelist for B Corps or things like B Corporation. We're the first florist B Corporation in North America, the first flower B Corp. And I feel, a sense of responsibility and opportunity to get more people interested in B corporations, particularly this next set of entrepreneurs. I'm less interested personally in turning a different generation, or changing this older generation's mindset per se. I think there's plenty of people who are doing that, and the market is going to largely drive that. But I think, how can we make this next generation consider purpose in all their business ventures and really use that business as a force for good?
I'd definitely say that, good mark of a leader is someone that is going to leave something better than they found it, far better than they found it. Let's bring this home, Stephen. What is your definition of a real leader?
Well, I think I kind of touched upon it at the beginning. I think in the modern world, a real leader, particularly a real CEO and business owner, is a servant of many different stakeholders, not just shareholders, and not just customers. It's really important to be in constant dialogue with your community. A real leader is interested in their community, not just thinking about that as a uncomfortable externality. And I think that, and same with the environment, is they're in constant dialogue with environmental stewards in their community. I think that's what a real leader looks like today. It's more holistic, and they are taking care of more than just their shareholders.
For Stephen Dyme, I'm Kevin Owers, asking you to go out there, be a servant leader, and always, folks, keep it real. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Good work.